We are committed to protecting innocent civilians from the threat of radical Islamic terrorism.
It was very disturbing to see that the Prime Minister was openly exhorting and raising the slogan, "Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar." That was better avoided.
Good morning. Welcome to our special broadcast here live from United States of America. The sun is rising in Houston, and boy, the sun certainly appears to be rising as far as Indo-US relations are concerned. Last 24 hours, what one has witnessed in Houston at the NRG Stadium certainly has immense possibilities, immense potential for what the future could look like between these two great nations, India and the United States. The energy which was witnessed at the NRG Stadium with President Trump effusing huge praises on the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister returning those compliments in equally warm manner, it does show that there is a new language, a new paradigm, which is now going to become a part and parcel of Indo-US relations. The era of suspicion, the era of unease, the era of Bada Bhai, Chota Bhai, perhaps now are a thing of the past, as the Prime Minister single-handedly, as he walked in the NRG Stadium hand in hand with the American President, single-handedly attempts to rewrite a new chapter in Indo-US relations. But lots of reactions happening back home in India as well. Maria, good morning, good evening.
Good evening, Bhupen. How's the weather in Texas?
Well, I'm right now in Houston, and from Houston, I will be moving to New York City, where the Prime Minister is going to be addressing a whole series of meetings over the next 1 week.
So it's a packed schedule as far as New York City is also concerned for the Prime Minister. What all should we expect today?
Well, what really can be expected from the Prime Minister is that he has converted the next 5 days into basically an opportunity which could be described as the high noon for Indian diplomacy. Whether it's the 150th birth anniversary celebrations of Mahatma Gandhi, whether it's installation of a solar power panel at the United Nations headquarters, whether it's meeting as many as 75 member countries of the UNGA, the Prime Minister in the next 1 week is going to be presiding over 75 meetings. And out of these 75 meetings, 40 meetings with different heads of different countries. The Prime Minister himself is going to be sitting on all those meetings. Of course, there is that little story of responding to the kind of propaganda warfare which has been unleashed by the Pakistanis, and we'll get to know more of that once Imran Khan and Donald Trump's meeting has taken place, or when Imran Khan speaks at the UNGA summit just after the Prime Minister. Bottom line, the Prime Minister wants to use this trip to the United States of America to simply break away from any baggage of the past, to recast the ties between India and America in a manner that the focus completely becomes on mutually beneficial transactions and not consistently being hyphenated with Pakistan as far as relations with America is concerned.
Bhupen, stay with us. Let me do a quick recap of all that has happened in the last 24 hours. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi's grand public reception at Houston is the talk of the town back here in India, certainly. While his comments against Pakistan is being praised, the Congress has stoked controversy by arguing that Prime Minister Narendra Modi should not have campaigned openly for Trump. Senior Congress leader Anand Sharma has said that the Prime Minister has ended the country's policy of bipartisanship as far as domestic US politics is concerned. Listen in first to what the comment has been of Anand Sharma. But before that, let's listen in to what the Prime Minister said.
अमेरिका में 9/11 हो या मुंबई में 26/11 हो, उसके साजिशकर्ता कहां पाए जाते हैं? अब समय आ गया है कि आतंकवाद के खिलाफ और आतंकवाद को बढ़ावा देने वालों के खिलाफ निर्णायक लड़ाई लड़ी जाए। मैं यहां पर जोर देकर कहना चाहूंगा, इस लड़ाई में प्रेसिडेंट ट्रंप पूरी मजबूती के साथ आतंक के खिलाफ खड़े हुए हैं। He has achieved much for the United States and for the world. Friends, we in India have connected well with President Trump. The words of candidate Trump, अब की बार ट्रंप सरकार.
There has been a time-honored convention in our foreign policy engagements that India does not meddle in domestic electoral politics, nor does the Prime Minister of India or the President of India, while visiting a country, take partisan positions which is seen as endorsing one political party or leader. Prime Minister should have respected that. It was very disturbing to see that the Prime Minister was openly exhorting and raising the slogan, "Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar." That was better avoided.
Any Indian Prime Minister going abroad and meeting the non-resident Indians who left our country and are living there, meeting them, there is no objection to that at all, ever. But going to a different country and participating in an election campaign virtually and doing propaganda for XYZ, that is something which we don't allow in India. In India, we don't allow any foreigner to come and participate in our election campaigns. The same thing is being done by Indian Prime Minister there, which he'll have to, and giving the slogan. He virtually gave the same slogan he gives in India, saying, "Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar."
So Bhupen, you heard back home here in India, there is this furor, almost a storm that has been raised after that statement of the Prime Minister where he talked about that slogan of candidate Trump. What is really happening back there in Houston?
Well, the more I listen to this conversation back home and the more I look at the tweets which are being put up by various Congress handles, if the Congress's official position is that it's a huge mistake which has been committed by the Prime Minister by, well, pitching himself too close into the Republican camp, then that just shows where the Prime Minister wants to make a difference and where the Congress party has got the story completely wrong. Look at the comments which are being made by the likes of a Milind Deora, who's saying that the initial casting of Indo-US ties was done by his father, and it's so very nice to see an Indian Prime Minister being applauded like this on US soil. Even Shashi Tharoor is making it very clear that it's the Prime Minister's prerogative to decide what he really wants to do as far as setting up of a paradigm of new relations with the country is concerned. Narendra Modi is very clear. Back home, there is no opposition to fight. He is now, I think, Maria, somewhere chasing his position on the high global table, which is why the extent to which he went at the NRG Stadium to try and build up Donald Trump as a globally acceptable brand. And there was one line which the Prime Minister gave, which I thought really captured the sum and substance of this entire meeting yesterday, which was when he describes Donald Trump in a very loving manner, that Donald Trump is a great deal maker, and I'm still learning a lot from that deal-making abilities. And then what does he do? He goes around the town, posts his speech around the entire stadium, holds him by his arms and waves to the Indian audiences. I think somewhere in between these two gestures, certainly there was a very potent message which was coming from Prime Minister Modi about how he doesn't care about this criticism which is being mounted by the Congress party. I did manage to catch up with Ashok Malik, former press advisor to the president, who's here especially at the request of the Indian government to try and make sense of what is the big political message which is coming up from this Trump and Modi dosti.
आज ये जो पूरा जो ये हम लोगों ने देखा डोनाल्ड ट्रंप और नरेंद्र मोदी का जॉइंट शो, क्या समझ में आया? क्या लगता है आपको कि हमने पाया क्या इस पूरे इवेंट से?
पूरे इवेंट से तो यही पाया कि इंडिया इज गेटिंग स्ट्रॉन्गर when India and USA is becoming a strong alliance, so which is better for the whole world.
Strong friendship. It is building between India and America, so that's what it represents.
When the US president speaks about dealing with Islamic terror, protecting your own borders, is that not a strong message to Pakistan?
It is very strong message, not only Pakistan, but those all people who are supporting to the terrorists. So there are some other countries who are supporting to Imran Khan. I think it is message to the world.
We got to see the friendship of Donald Trump and Modi, right? And they are acting towards, terrorism and all stuff. So they're bonding and all. It's all interesting and full of energy and power. So as an immigrant, we feel like this bonding is very useful for us as well. So it's very helpful for us.
Donald Trump supporting NRC, Donald Trump, well, almost supporting Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. You remove Donald Trump, convert the speech into Hindi and maybe put Narendra Modi, it could all be the same.
Well, let's not get carried away, but there's two or three things here. One, I think this is a celebration of the Indian community, which adds value to the United States and to the bilateral relationship, and is a community whose votes are also being sought, to be honest, in a state, Texas, which was a strongly Republican state, but is now becoming a little tough. President Trump is clearly reaching out to the Indian community here. But he sent a few strong signals. One, in a time when immigration is a controversial word in this country and has been, he has validated the Indian community as a community which is a great community, does a great work, and has fitted in very well to the American way of life and makes up great Americans. In a time of testy trade relationships between America and many of its partners, including India, he has said that Indian companies invest in America, they create jobs in America. He singled out a steel company, JSW, by saying it's contributing to the revival of American manufacturing. On two controversial issues, trade and immigration, he has said, I have no problems with India and with the Indian community. And then, of course, he's been very sensitive, more sensitive than we expected perhaps, on India's security concerns. On terrorism, he sees India's case.
Against Pakistan?
Against Pakistan-based militants or terrorists, to call them what you will. And certainly the protests which were planned and to some degree took place around the Kashmir issue, led by Pakistani groups here in Houston, have not cut much ice with him, have cut no ice with him.
And that brings us to the blunt question that we are raising on Viewpoint this evening. Is Congress criticism of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Trump endorsement justified? Let me bring in all my panelists and go straight to Ambassador Dogra. Ambassador Dogra, we haven't seen any Indian Prime Minister give the kind of endorsement that Prime Minister Narendra Modi did of Donald Trump yesterday. What is your view? Is this the direction in which the Indian diplomacy is rightly headed, or do you think there has to be a note of great degree of caution which has not been displayed?
Well, I don't want to indulge in anything relating to domestic politics. I'll only give you examples from history and from other countries' leaderships. You'd recall that Tony Blair had specially flown to Washington when Bill Clinton was facing impeachment charges. And it was Tony Blair's intervention at an open press conference that turned the tables. From then on, Bill Clinton's impeachment process got slowed, got delayed, and he was in the clear. He got the confidence that he needed at that time. So it's not as if foreign leadership does not come to the rescue of a friend. In fact, the latest case is Donald Trump himself endorsing the Israeli Prime Minister, who lost eventually, but that is a different thing. The fact is that in today's interconnected world, we have moved away from the hesitations of 50s and 60s. If ordinary people like me and others can comment on Twitter on the performance of a president or a prime minister of country X, Y, or Z, why can't an Indian leader, if he feels that it will give the nation mileage over the next 2 years, why can't he make a comment, whether in a friendly gesture or otherwise? The second thing is the atmosphere created by Democratic Party. the Bernie Sanders has gone out of his way to criticize India, to castigate India. In fact, on the day of the Houston rally, he wrote an opinion piece criticizing India. Before that, he's criticized India in public meetings. So if Democratic Party can indulge in India bashing, why can't the Indian leader who's there on American soil at least respond when he's addressing his own people? So I think let's not miss the wood for trees. Let us look at the larger picture, and the larger picture is that India-US relationship certainly went a public spectacle transformation yesterday, and that was commented favorably by the media, which had been critical so far. Whether you look at Wall Street Journal, New York Times, or BBC in London, you see a transformation. It may be temporary, it may be a longer term, but the fact is that the rally has had an effect. And if you say a few nice words to the leader of that country, I don't think we should do the nitpicking.
Should it be seen as just nice words, Bhupen? Or, you know, is this a clear departure from the past as far as India-US relationship is concerned?
I think the way to look at what's going on, and I was asking this question to many senior officers from the Ministry for External Affairs and even the Indian High Commission there in New York, where the Prime Minister is now, there is a feeling that because of the overwhelming mandate Prime Minister Modi got in the Lok Sabha elections, how could he be seen to be doing something which has been practiced by earlier governments? Manmohan Singh, at the end of the day, was a product of coalition era. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was a product of a 23-party, multi-party coalition. Here is a Prime Minister who's got the biggest mandate in the history of independent India, perhaps the second biggest mandate in the history of independent India. His strike rate is 50% as far as BJP's seat share is concerned. Why should the Prime Minister then be held hostage to what Ambassador Dogra was describing as a conventional approach? The Prime Minister, I think, believes that the Americans want to do business. Look at the old adage. What is it that Barack Obama would say? He would always say that visiting American presidents at the end of the day are businessmen first and presidents later. I think there is a recognition, and that is what the Prime Minister was alluding to, that if Donald Trump is a great deal maker, then India is willing to deal with him, provided India also gets something more than what Donald Trump may not want to give to the Indian side. To that extent, if the Prime Minister has decided to pitch himself too closely in the Republican camp, so be it. He just enjoys tremendous domestic and political support at this point of time, and he believes that as long as he gets this domestic political support, he can play this game between the Republicans on one side, and who knows what will happen in the next general elections in America.
You know, Pratik with Pen, the fact is that this is a new foreign policy doctrine that has been written by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We have seen, as far as the engagement in Pakistan is also concerned, Balakot aerial strikes are a clear example that, you know, there will be new Lakshman Rekha, new rules. Why can't this be also seen as a new doctrine, as Ambassador Dogra was pointing about that example of Tony Blair and Bill Clinton?
Maria, there are two things. First, I think the Democrats have already given a walkover to Donald Trump for the next election. I mean, you don't see a major contender from Democrats coming up and actually challenging Donald Trump. Secondly, I'll just take it forward from where Ambassador Dogra stated about Bernie Sanders. It's not just Bernie Sanders alone, it's Ro Khanna. He joined the Congressional Pakistan caucus, the statement by Pramila Jayapal on the issue of Kashmir. So what he did yesterday is basically about telling the Democrats in no uncertain terms that if you can hit us, this is what we do back. Secondly, when you talk about Donald Trump, he's a transactional person, very clearly. So there are four things yesterday, probably in this 5 days, India is offering. First, energy diplomacy. There's a huge turmoil in Middle East. They will take more oil from United States. From 6 million tons presently to the potential is unlimited. And there can be a potential deal in addition to what happened yesterday. Deals like that we had with Russia of $25 billion gas deal. Second, of course, defense. Third, of course, contract manufacturing option as an alternate base given the dispute between China and United States. Asking the American companies, come to India, I have given 100% FDI on contract manufacturing and reduce the corporate tax. Fourth is the diaspora vote. Now, Prime Minister Modi, I think this is a tactical move. And the calculation is this: look, I am going to stay here for the next 5 years. It's a foregone conclusion, more or less, that Donald Trump is going to come back. So once he is going to come back, why not latch it on the opportunity and say that I'm endorsing you?
Before the elections, before the results.
Being the fact that he's a transactional person,
preemptive.
Now he has got so much that there are certain things, as Bhupen was rightly stating, that there are certain things that India would ask for more. Yesterday he made a very critical statement, Prime Minister Modi. He says that I'm going to take the war against terrorism to the decisive level. Now what does that decisive level means? A decisive level would mean attacking the launch pads which are all in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Right. Secondly, America has been stating a bigger role for India in Afghanistan. How can India play a bigger role in Afghanistan if you don't have a land access to Afghanistan? If you don't want us to use the Chabar port, give us an alternate option. So there is something going on wherein you give these 4 things, and he is very clear.
It's transactional, give and take.
These are 4 things I'm offering you. Energy diplomacy, energy business, they understand numbers. Energy business, there are major deals which will be concluded, I'm very sure, before the presidential campaign starts. So that Donald Trump can show that this is what the business that I brought. I can even mention the deals. 10 PA-type Poseidon, 6 more Apache helicopters, National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems that America is willing to sell to India, and 30-odd Sea Guardian Predator drone. These are all in the offing, and it's going to get concluded. So in terms of numbers, Donald Trump knows that the diaspora, Indian diaspora, votes the Democrats. He came for votes.
Yes, he understood
He came
that.
for votes.
And he gave his time, particularly also understanding what he gets in return. Ambassador Dogra, let me bring you here. I'm looking at India maybe having a great relationship and everything, optically much better as far as Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Barack Obama was, But in terms of deliverables, in terms of what India managed vis-a-vis Obama and India managed vis-a-vis Trump, look at this. With Obama, it was Obama never personally confronted Pakistan and let officials do the job. Trump, what did he do? Is more direct in sending across messages, including his blistering attack on Pakistan by his 2018 tweet. And then he goes on to say that he even adopted a broader freeze on most US military aid, which is very different from how Obama interacted with and looked at Pakistan.
Well, you are absolutely right in terms of introducing a word of caution, because both Obama and Trump are not offensive in terms of introducing and launching new attacks or new wars. Obama did get trapped into having many wars under his regime. That's a different thing. But psychologically, he was against getting involved in fresh conflicts. Trump even more so, if you look at his record so far. But that does not give a great judgment against dealing with Trump or against trusting him, because the situation, the strategic situation around India and in the larger Gulf region is changing very fast. We may need friends and we may need reliable helping hand. So if we discard everyone and everything because warmer words are not reciprocated, or there is not equal reciprocation in terms of a trade relationship, or that the arms deal that we got from America is not of an offensive variety but of a defensive variety, then I think we will be losing the race in our desire to have a solid strategic relationship where a country which is still the superpower stands by us.
Okay, Ambassador Dogra, Patikrit Payne and Omar Altaf will continue this debate with me. Bhupen, let me give the final words to you since you have to catch a flight to New York City. Tell me what exactly will be Prime Minister's schedule over the next 24 hours. He has already left for New York, I believe.
Oh yes, he left for New York yesterday itself, immediately after the meeting at the NRG Stadium. I think it's really going to be a momentous occasion for Prime Minister Modi. A total of 75 bilaterals is what has been lined up. Out of those 75, 40 of those meetings, the Prime Minister himself is going to be present. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar, as we know, is already there. There is a lot of focus on the environmental aspect behind the United Nations General Assembly Summit as well. On Tuesday, the Prime Minister will be a part of 150th birth anniversary celebrations of Mahatma Gandhi. He is going to be inaugurating the installation of a solar power panel at the UN headquarters. In between, he is also being awarded for his role of being a global leader in the kind of work that he has managed to achieve in India by the Bill Gates Foundation. And then finally it all ends on Friday the 27th, when the Prime Minister will be addressing the United Nations General Assembly Summit. When he addresses that UNGA summit, I think the focus clearly will be whether he really chooses to unleash an attack on Pakistan, or does he talk about the kind of work that he has managed to do in India and convert India into some kind of a role model for the rest of the countries to follow.
All right, Bhupen, thank you so much for joining us from there in Houston, Texas. This remains our top focus on Viewpoint this evening. Joining me in just